In 1998, I got a call from my little brother Tony. He was living in Dallas and I was living in San Ramon, California. And he was told he had colon cancer and they gave him 6 months to live. So I asked him to come out to California and let me help him. I had been through some major health issues with Epstein-Barr virus and had learned a lot about alternative health. So he came out, and I can't believe he trusted me, and it was like an incredible experience. So he went through the chemotherapy, but I did things like I unplugged the cable TV. I only rented movies. He loved slapstick humor, so I rented things like Dumb and Dumber, Jerry Lewis movies with Dean Martin, and that was the kind of humor that he really appreciated. I wouldn't let him take any of the phone calls with the insurance people, and anything that was stressful, I dealt with it. And we went through 5 months of chemo and radiation. They kept messing up the dosage and had to start over and again. At one point, he had no skin from the waist down to his knees, and I had to devise a way for him to take a bath that he wouldn't end up getting stuck to the bathtub because he had no skin at all. And you can't use ointments or anything because with no immune system with the chemo and radiation, any ointment could cause an infection that would cause him to die. So there are all these challenges that came up. It was an incredible journey. And we got to the point where a friend of mine introduced me to an American Indian shaman, and I asked Ted to focus on Tony like a laser beam, because Tony's cancer was a very unusual cancer, and it was not only in the colon, but it also went to the pancreas. And I had Ted focus on the colon and the pancreas, and within a year, the cancer was completely gone. And then, because of the stress he was going through, the cancer came back. So one of the things that, in my personal opinion, is cancer comes from stress. And if you ever look at a cancer cell and an ulcer, it's hard to tell them apart. So I believe that, like ulcers that are caused from stress, cancer is caused from stress. In fact, most illnesses are caused from stress. Dr. Bernie Siegel, who is out of Bethesda, Maryland, has done this wonderful program where he has a 95% cure ratio in both heart disease and cancer. And one of the things he does is he makes everyone give up anything that stresses them. And that means if their spouse stresses them, their children stress them, the job, whatever, change your environment, change your lifestyle so that you minimize the stress that you deal with. Now, everyone knows that the stress that we have is stress that we create. So if we can create the stress, we can stop the stress, but it's becoming aware, and that's the hardest part. I even taught my little brother how to meditate, and it was so much fun because he had never been around anything like that. He was typical redneck cowboy, and he was so unaware of anything spiritual. But after a couple of months, he really enjoyed meditating and getting his mind to quiet down. So we went through the American Indian shaman. I ended up getting him marijuana to be able to help him with the pain. That was incredible that people just showed up and helped me because I had no idea where to get marijuana from. But it was a wonderful attribute to helping him minimize the pain and how it affected him. One day he was so stressed out over another round of chemo and so much pain, and he was just having a hard time. He was 6'1", and when I had picked him up at the airport, he was 135 pounds. You could actually see the skeleton from his head. He was so thin. And so this one day he was really, really stressed, and he wasn't gaining weight. And so I said, what do you want to do? And I said, I'm going to check you into a hotel. And I said, you tell me what you want. And the only two things he could think of that he wanted was a case of Twinkies and a case of Coors. And I didn't care. It was like, here's a card, you call whenever you need food or, whatever you need to do, and just call me when you feel like coming back. And so he stayed 3 days in the hotel and just kind of was by himself and had nothing to do but watch TV. And it was a good break for both of us, but it was kind of therapeutic for both of us. We ended up getting 10 years, which was a miracle. And finally it got to the point where he had been at the Palo Alto VA hospital, and the Stanford doctors came over, teaching hospital in Palo Alto, California, and they were putting his x-rays up on the viewer, and he turned to me and he goes, "Look, I always told you I had a big heart." And his heart had been so stressed, it was all the way up to the collarbone, all the way down to his waist, and it was actually crushing his lung on the right side. When he had gone to the hospital in Dallas, they infected him with HIV. So he didn't die of the cancer, but he did die of a complicated system from his immune system, which was congenital heart disease. So his heart just gave out. It couldn't work anymore. And that was after 10 years. So instead of 6 months, we got 10 years. During the process, one of the other tools that we used was a Rife machine that was invented in 1935. And Dr. Royal Rife was able to cure cancer in over 90% of all of his patients. You can still get the Rife machines. They're manufactured in Las Vegas. And it's something that most people don't understand, that cancer has been curable since 1935, but it doesn't fit the protocols of the American Medical Association. So doctors have to treat people with drugs and surgery, and they take an oath to do that. They can't recommend vitamin C. They can't recommend alternatives, even if they know that something is better than drugs and surgery. So this is an incredible system that's available to people. And I had a radio show for 2 years called Choices for a Healthier Lifestyle. And that's how I gained a lot of the knowledge that I had about alternative health. And so this is something that I truly believe that people should research. Back in 1991, when I was just starting my radio show, there was 450,000 people in the United States who paid out of their pocket for alternative care rather than going to hospitals. So I truly believe that we're becoming a lot more aware, and how we have to take the personal responsibility of our own health. Now, unfortunately, my brother didn't make it, but to have 10 years when you're told you only have 6 months to be with somebody that you truly love, that is a gift. And so when you know people who are struggling, there are answers out there. Just keep looking, because there are people who have been curing cancer and every other disease there is. And the body is a miracle. The body wants to heal itself. So look into it, challenge yourself, don't take no for an answer. And I truly believe that all of us are given these challenges not only to learn from them, but to have the knowledge to be able to help others. So let me know if you have any questions. I would love to be able to help you in any way I can.